Aloha everyone, this is Dr. BethAnne. I am an intuition guide and I teach on intuitive living and how to embody our intuition. We are talking about developing our intuition for the month of October, and today I want to focus on not attaching to outcomes. So there are two things that happen when intuitive information comes in. One, we have to receive it, and we have to make space in order to receive that information. Two is interpretation with what does this mean? And that's the piece that a lot of us get really caught up on. So I'm going to break both of those down and talk more about them fully. So in order to receive intuitive information, we need to make space and we need an intuitive practice. That does not have to be something fancy. An intuitive practice might just be sitting with your journal and doing like a daily stream of thoughts and asking yourself questions of like, how do I feel today? What are my feelings telling me? Feelings are gateways to our intuition. They have so much information. It might be keeping a dream journal and writing down your dreams and then feeling into what they mean and just writing about possible messages that they might have for you. An intuitive practice might be going out into nature with an open heart and just paying attention to how your body feels and how your mind feels. An intuitive practice could be picking up crayons and just coloring and seeing what you want to express. Intuitive practices are about dropping out of our mental chatter and our analytical self and getting into our flowy, receptive self that just kind of goes and flows and follows our own like thought stream or feeling stream or sensing stream. That's what an intuitive practice is. And when we do an intuitive practice regularly and we're paying attention, we begin to develop a deeper relationship with our intuition because we realize certain themes might be coming up, certain feelings might be coming up. We start seeing signs and synchronicities and how something that we might feel might manifest in our life later that day. That's really fun when we have a practice because we create a pattern that our intuition starts to speak to us and then spirit can use that matrix to speak to us as well. So if you are, for example, or a tarot card person or an oracle card person, cards are really great as an intuitive practice. And you start working with the cards and every morning just do a card pull and say like, what does spirit want for me today? Or what does my intuition want me to know? You might just write down your thoughts and see what the card says. But what you might notice, let's say maybe you pulled an owl and it talks about owning your wise self and you think that's really cool. What you might start to notice is that the symbol of owls will start to follow you everywhere. And you'll be on Instagram scrolling and somebody posted an owl and you'll read a book and the symbol of an owl or an owl will be in the book or it will be on a TV show. So that's the cool thing about an intuitive practice is because, intuition is really how our soul speaks. It's how the spirit world can speak to us as well. It's like by listening with our unseen, invisible self inside. And we start to create ways for more intuitive information to come and to anchor in. So number one, we have to receive by having an intuitive practice. And that isn't a should, that is something that is potentially really fun and that works for you and works for your life. Number two is what do we do with the information that we're picking up on? And that's where a lot of people get tripped up because we attach an expectation to like what that information means. I get it, right? It's so human. We pull the owl or we see an 1111 and we think, what does this mean? Is this a sign? Is this a symbol? Is somebody trying to tell me something? Our intuition will always give us multiple like validations and confirmations about whatever it is it's trying to tell us. It is not a one-time deal. And I think that's the most important thing because what happens with interpretation is that we often like attach an expectation to outcome. We want it to mean a certain something. We want it to be a certain something. And what we do is we actually close ourselves off when we do that, to just being open to the possibility and trusting that if we're listening to our intuition and we're making space to work with our intuition, we have an intuitive practice, the answers will come in time. So we don't have to know what it means in the moment. We don't have to have it figured out. Part of intuition is the fact that it does flow, and we don't always have an instant knowing. We kind of collect bits and pieces of self-knowledge as we go, and then we collage them together into a bigger picture when it's the right time. So receiving is part one of intuition, and then part two of that is interpretation. And that's the part where I encourage you to stay open, to work with it, to practice with it, because it's how we develop discernment, and that's how we become more accurate in interpreting and better understanding what it means. Sometimes we have a real hit of this is exactly what it means, and it resonates really deep inside of us, so never ignore that. But often working with intuition, my observation is that we're just collecting these bits and pieces, and the bigger insight comes in during the right time. We don't always have the insight right in the moment. So thank you so much for joining me here today and learning about intuitive development. If you enjoy this content, feel free to subscribe, and you can find out more about me on my website, BethAnneKW.com, if you're interested in connecting further. All right, aloha and light.